These are the cruise ships that failed miserably. From ships painted in bright orange with beds on the floor to cryptocurrency ships that didn't even leave port. We bring you the incredibly interesting stories of 4 cruise lines that literally bombed. Well, ahoy there, cruisers!
Welcome to this video with us, Cruise with Ben and David. How are you doing this week? Make sure you hit that subscribe button right now, guys. It really does help us out and it really helps the channel continue to grow.
Now, the first cruise line we're going to look at is Fathom. Now, this is a really interesting one. Fathom was a cruise line that was owned by Carnival Corporation back in 2015. It was registered in the United Kingdom but operated in the USA and Florida. Yes, a bit confusing. This was to be a very different type of cruise line. The whole point was to operate social impact travel cruises. Basically, this means that cruisers would cruise on the ship to destinations in the Caribbean, then would volunteer with different organisations in port. Volunteering included teaching English to locals, helping build different projects to supply food and water, as well as helping with the production of local goods, so making different types of spirits or chocolate and things like that. It was very interesting. Their one ship was from P&O Cruises from here in the UK, the R-Class Adonia ship. The ship was supported and maintained by P&O Cruises still whilst it was in service with Fathom.
And in its short time as a cruise line, did you know that Fathom actually made some history? It was the first cruise line to sail from the United States to Cuba following the temporary improvement of relations with Cuba and the United States. This is the first time it happened in over 50 years. What a momentous occasion. I bet that was a really awesome cruise to be on. She also sailed 7-night cruises from Port Miami to the Dominican Republic. In November 2016, just a year after it launched, Fathom announced that they would be discontinuing the cruise line operations in June 2017.
So the ship Adonia was then returned back to P&O Cruises in the UK, but the name continued on as branded excursion experiences on other Carnival cruise lines, but this only lasted another year. On January the 8th, 2019, the Fathom brand was quietly discontinued. Since then, there's been no further announcements, and there's been nothing said about the future of Fathom. How sad is that? It was such a unique experience where you could give back as well, but it goes to show that people want to go on vacation, not work. Travel agents found the experience really hard to sell because you were basically being asked to pay to volunteer. When people did choose to sail Fathom, however, they loved it and came back many times, but the problem was attracting brand new people to show what it was all about, because it's quite hard to explain what it's about on paper or on screen, isn't it? Many people only have the opportunity to go on vacation once a year and wanted a break, not to do some work. It was a new category of travel that sadly failed. Very sad that they very silently disappeared. Next up, we have a really interesting one. It's the Easy Cruise Line. This is from the same company who brought us EasyJet and Easy Hotels and loads of other Easy brands. They thought it would be a good idea, but sadly they got things very wrong. We'll let you know why. They launched their first cruise ship, EasyCruise 1, all one word, in May 2005. EasyCruise 1 was originally built in 1990 for another cruise line. She could only hold 100 passengers, so she was tiny in comparison to some of today's cruise lines.
The ship's hull was originally painted a very stylish orange with white EasyCruise.com website messaging on both sides. Very classy, I think, for a cruise ship, don't you, Ben?
She looked bloody awful. I mean, take a look at these pictures. She looks really shocking, doesn't she?
Yes, anything like the airline as well. You know, they had the old telephone number on the side. Do you remember that? The old EasyJet telephone number. She was later painted with a slightly toned-down version. Easy Cruises' business model offered passengers an inexpensive, no-frills vacation. Unlike other cruise lines, where most things like food and service are always included, Easy Cruise decided it would be better to charge for just about anything.
So they offered a la carte pricing for many things on board. In the upfront price, you were basically only paying for your cabin and nothing else. And the cabins were in pretty bad shape too. All cabins included a very simple bed and bathroom with bare amenities, basically nothing. The bathroom consisted of a glass-walled area containing both a toilet and shower, and most beds earlier on in the cruise line were consisted of a mattress placed on the floor, and there was barely any storage, just awful. And the cabins again were painted tangerine, orange and grey. What a lovely classy colour to be able to sleep in. not.
It actually sounds really similar to Easy Hotel. We've stayed in the Easy Hotel a few times, but obviously we've only stayed there one night. We've never been on a 7-night holiday on an Easy Hotel.
And the cabins were about half the size as the ones found on regular cruise ships. But as we said, they were refurbished a little bit later on to look a little bit more acceptable, but not much.
And you even had to pay for your room to be cleaned and linen changed. And guys, it was not cheap as well. A full cleaning cost was $17.50 and a simple linen change was $8.30. And it was $6.45 for a towel change.
That's crazy.
I know, you might as well just pop into port and buy some new ones at that price.
And the ship barely had any amenities at all. They tried aiming these cruises at younger customers who wanted to spend basically all of their time on shore rather than an onboard megaship. Each night, the ship would position from port to port as the passengers slept. Basically, that's what cruise lines do anyway, in order to allow the maximum time in each port ashore. They just basically wanted to get people off the ship as there wasn't anything on board on offer.
Yeah, it sounds like they've based it on the concept of maybe like a sleeper train, where you're just using it to get from A to B, nothing else.
Or a ferry.
Or a ferry, sorry, yeah, of course, like a sleeper train on the seas, also known as a ferry. The bare facilities included a small general store and a gift shop, a coffee shop, an English-themed bar with an evening DJ, and a cocktail bar and hot tub on the upper deck, which sounds quite glamorous. The service began by operating nighttime departures cruising in the Mediterranean. For the winter season, EasyCruise cruised in the Caribbean.
A second boat was acquired back in 2007, very predictably called the EasyCruise 2. It was a converted river freighter. So basically it would offer river cruises, but a river freighter, guys. I think that says it all. This ship visited ports around Netherlands and Belgium, calling at cities such as Amsterdam, Rotterdam, Antwerp and Brussels, but it didn't last long. It only lasted 1 year due to the bad financial situation of the company. In 2008, EasyCruise one ship was replaced by a bigger ship called EasyCruise Life. Again, all one word. She held around 550 passengers, so she was a little bit bigger. So, the demise of the cruise line, well, as you can imagine, it demised because it wasn't very good. Demised isn't even a word, but it was down to the fact that they totally missed the point that people liked being on cruise ships.
Yeah.
And the food, entertainment, accommodation, and all things like that played a huge part in the enjoyment of the cruise. EasyCruise lasted just 5 years and ended operations back in 2010. The line was sold to the Greek ferry operator Hellenic Seaways for $9 million. Well, again, sold to a ferry operator, I think it says it all.
Yeah.
EasyCruise's operations were quietly discontinued sometime in 2010.
The next cruise line doomed to the history books is the Celebration Cruise Line. This cruise line began operations in March 2009 with the Bahamas Celebration, which was formerly a cruise ferry. There's that ferry word again. Built in 1981 and converted to a cruise ship in 2008. The ship had a capacity of 1,200 passengers. Celebration Cruise Line operated the only cruise ship to sail from the port of Palm Beach. She started out in Port Everglades in Fort Lauderdale, but moved due to there being too much competition at the port there.
And she also had a few other unique features. She only sailed to the port of Freeport in the Bahamas on 2-night round trips, so that was it. There was no other cruises. The line also offered a unique cruise and stay package that allowed passengers to check out of the ship and into a resort on Grand Bahama Island for 2, 4 or 6 nights before rejoining the vessel for the return trip. I mean, that's really pretty cool, I think. How you could actually have a Caribbean break in between the inbound and outbound cruises. That's really cool. And the cruises were really cheap as well and offered a great deal for first-time cruisers wanting to test the waters, pardon the pun, without booking longer and more expensive cruises.
But what went wrong? Well, the sales team before sailing and whilst on board were relentless with nickel and diming the passengers. They pressured people into selling things like shore excursions, drinks packages, speciality dining and other items. And guys, we know how much this annoys us and you when you're on a cruise and you get asked to buy stuff constantly, so I can't imagine how bad this would have been. Also, the cabins were tiny compared to today's standards, and because she was a smaller ship, it meant it had limited options for entertainment and dining. The ship's overall design was the subject of many complaints, with loads of dead ends that meant you had to go up and down a deck, to go back or down to go up, and then to go sideways, to go left and shimmy. It was, yeah, a nightmare.
And one of the great things is that if you didn't get off the ship at the other end, you didn't even need a passport, just your birth certificate and another form of ID. Once it left port in international waters, the drinking age was reduced to 18. So as you can imagine, the ship was quite the party boat for younger people wanting to drink, especially during spring break and things like that. It was said to have a very much festival-like atmosphere on board. So how did it all end? Well, on October 31st, Halloween 2014, the Bahamas Celebrations ship struck an unknown object while departing from Freeport in the Bahamas, creating a hole in the ship's hull and resulting in the vessel listing 10 degrees to port. Don't worry, all passengers and crew were unharmed, but she sustained such significant damage that it was retired and the company then shut its doors for good. Quite a drastic and sad end, really. Many people really enjoyed sailing with the Celebration Cruise Line, but that was the end of that.
And finally, one of the most unique cruise lines that we've probably ever read about is the Bitcoin cruise ship. Yep, guys, you heard me right, the Bitcoin cruise ship. So, in 2020, a company called Ocean Builders were planning to turn a cruise ship into a floating tech hub community with shops and restaurants that would accept Bitcoins.
It would be a gathering place for digital nomads, cryptocurrency enthusiasts, whatever they are, expats, researchers and entrepreneurs, offering a unique space in which they can build and network. They wanted to take advantage of cruise lines selling ships for cheaper during the pandemic. The company were actually planning to use the former Pacific Dawn from P&O Cruises, Australia. They were planning to change the name to Satoshi, which is actually the same name as the smallest unit of Bitcoin, so we can see what they did there. It was a bit like the World Cruise Ship. Basically, this ship it has people living on board the ship in apartments, also known as cabins. Where the ship would go was unknown, or whether it would just anchor in international waters off the coast of Panama. The crypto cruises cabins were being sold for $25,000 to $50,000, and residents would also pay an ongoing fee for the upkeep of the ship and things like amenities on board.
So, what happened? Where did it all go wrong? Well, nothing happened. That was the problem. They couldn't get the insurance for the vessel. They even tried to convince the Panama Marine Authority that the ship would be considered non-seagoing vessel to reduce its insurance premiums. But because the vessel had an engine and a flag, they were considered as a seagoing vessel, and the authorities refused. Without insurance, the ship couldn't have a crew.
The former Pacific Dawn has now sadly been sold for scrap, which is unfortunate, isn't it? But yeah, that was a cruise line that didn't even leave or even sail at all, which is quite sad. If you were on any of these ships, we'd love to hear from you, so let us know in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button for more content and give us a thumbs up. It really helps our channel grow. And thank you so much to all of our patrons as well. You guys are absolutely amazing and we appreciate you so much. We give you loads of extra behind the scenes footage, extra episodes and postcards whilst we are away. The captain of the week is Charles, so ahoy there, Charles. That's it till next time. Happy cruising.